everybody. Happy Thursday. Thanks for dropping by. I want to talk a little bit about an industry that I've been in for over 30 years. So I love to talk about real estate. I love to talk about the challenges and the things that make you great in real estate. The things that I've seen and the things that I've learned over the years. So actually somebody asked me not too long ago, what did I earn the very first year I was in real estate? And of course that was 30 years ago, so you got to factor in for inflation and everything else that's going on. But I recall that I got into real estate probably late March, April, so I got into real estate in the springtime. Now I want to tell you that I answered an ad in the paper for a real estate agent. And I went to a very small company because I didn't have any confidence at that point in time. I was going through a lot in my personal life, and I just didn't have the confidence that I needed. So I went to work for a very small company, and I earned $40,000 that year. Now, equivalent inflation was probably, I don't know how much, but I'm sure it was 50. At least 50 if you factor in everything else. But, I just wanted you to know that you don't start out on top in this business. It's kind of like rolling a snowball uphill. Dave, can you grab that for me? That's on my screen. I just want to be able to see. It. So anyway, I'm going to talk to you about it, and I want you to, if you've got any questions at all, I'd love for you to type them in the chat. I'd love to hear from you. I want to make this as interactive as possible. I don't want to just sit here and talk at you for 10, 15 minutes. I really want to know what you want to know because I do have a little bit of knowledge about this industry and what it takes to survive and what it takes to thrive, because I've done both in that. So I happen to recall what I made for the first 5 years I was in real estate. First year I was in real estate, I made $40,000. The next year I was in real estate, number 2, I made $80,000. So I doubled my income, but I worked a full year instead of 7 or 8 months. The next year, 40, 80. The third year I was in real estate, I made $120,000. The fourth year I was in real estate, I made $180,000. The fifth year I was in real estate, I made $240,000. Now, of course, I'm not taking out expenses, and that's what we real estate agents are so bad at sometimes. We'll talk about gross this and gross sales volume, but we never talk too much about the net because we're not as good and not as sharp in the business end of the business as we should be. And then after that fifth year, I went into probably right around 350, getting really close to $500,000, and then I left Prudential for Remax. So that's a little bit of my history. But it was really just getting that snowball up the hill. Moving up a hill on a snowball is harder than rolling it down the hill. And once you get your real estate business going, it's going to be easier for you. But you got to put in a lot of work. You got to bring a lot of juice right at the beginning of it. And here's what I've noticed. I mean, if you've been around real estate at all, you know what a high turnover rate there is in this industry. I mean, it is rare for somebody to get their license and actually be in the business 2 years later. I've forgotten the statistics, but they're incredible high of the turnover. It's even worse if you look back with people that got their license and are they in the business 5 years from now, and most of them are not. I mean, it's 80-90% are not in the business. Now, some of them keep their license so that if they ever, should happen to do a deal, they've got it. But as far as making it a career, making it a job, making it a business, there's very few. And there's only 4% of the people that get into real estate got into real estate as their primary business and started out there and stayed there. And I was one of that 4%. And the reason I was, of course, is because I was a single parent. I had 3 kids to support. I was head of household. And it was very important that I have earning potential. Now, just during the last couple of months, it has really tickled me in some ways. Because I've seen some really talented people get in real estate and then get out of real estate. Here's some of the reasons. I saw somebody, I won't say the name, but they were very talented, and I thought they had a great career in front of them. And they actually came to real estate from another industry, similar to real estate. But so they left that job, they came here to real estate, and they had some quick success. And then the person who had hired them before they came into real estate came back to them and said, hey, you know, instead of, and I don't know these exact numbers, but instead of that $50,000 I was paying you before, I'll pay you $60,000 or I'll pay you $65,000. I don't know what those numbers were, but the callback was from somebody that worked before, and they said, you come on back now, I'm going to give you more money. And so this agent, who's very, very talented, said to me, well, you know, I think I'm going to do that because here were the reasons. I was trying to have a weekend off, and one of my clients called me. Okay, let's think about that. A client called you when you were trying to have a weekend off. That's a reason to get out of real estate. And it's just too confining. You know, the industry is just too confining. So here's what they did. They went back to a career that has a limit. That limit, I'm going to propose that limit as $65,000. I don't know what it was. They left a career that they could have made hundreds of thousands of dollars in. And they did so for that security, or that 9-to-5 job, where they don't get those calls in the middle of a vacation they're trying to take off. I think the other reason was they had kind of a little bit of a challenging first closing. In other words, everything wasn't rosy. You know, there was some upset feelings. You know, that happens in real estate. So it was just a talented person who left this industry for security and what I would consider less opportunity, way less opportunity. They settled. And so in real estate, I know for sure there's some times that you're going to want to quit. I know that. But when I got in real estate, I could not give myself the luxury of wanting to quit. I could have wanted to quit, but I couldn't stay in that state very long because I had to earn a living. And, you know, I've always taught that real estate's a little bit like war. Business is a little bit like war. And what those great commanders did that you read about, if you read about such things, is they would land someplace to fight a battle, and they'd get their soldiers all ready, and they would get them on shore, and then they would burn the boat. So there's no way out. And I think in real estate, if you don't mentally burn the boat to a way out, you're going to have a bad day and jump on that bridge to go back to the boat, because it's something you know, it's something steady, but you leave the opportunity. Man, let me tell you something. When I made $40, $80, $120, $180, $240,000, I didn't have any assets. I had a car that barely ran. I didn't have any credit. I had a $300 credit where I could buy gas. And that was a long time ago, but I used that. And then the only asset I had, I think I've told this before, was a little ring. It was a sapphire ring, and I would march down to Reliable Pawn Shop and pawn that ring to get me to the next closing. And that would buy enough groceries to feed my family to the next closing. So you see, folks, I didn't have a bridge. And that's the reason I think if you can put yourself into the position of breadwinner, whether you are or not, if you can get mentally so focused that you don't give yourself an out, you can build a tremendous business and a tremendous career in this industry. And it has no limits. That's what's so great about it. One of the things that's much, much different about real estate right now is more agents. It's very competitive right now. So I'm predicting, they've been saying in the news now for I don't know how long that we're on the verge of a recession, this, that, and the other. Well, the economy goes up and the economy goes down. That's just part of life. And I've certainly been around this business during 4 or 5 recessions, and I've seen it fluctuate. So when the economy goes down, a lot of agents get out of the business, especially when it's time to pay those dues. So be the agent that makes long-term plays in this business. I had a good friend of mine from another state talk about putting up a billboard, and she already had a billboard in this town. We don't allow very many billboards in the Triangle, except for one notable agent that's got every billboard in the whole way, but I won't talk about that. But she told me yesterday, or day before yesterday, she's going to put up 2 more billboards. And I said, well, that's a long-term play. I said, if you put up a billboard, you don't take it down in 6 months. That's a long-term play. How many long-term plays are you playing right now in your business? And those are a couple of things that I want to talk to you about. I've been thinking about, I used to listen to a radio commentator, and he had the undeniable truths of life in his profession. So he would, they were quite funny. And someday I'm going to write the 10 undeniable truths of real estate, of building a real estate business and building a real estate career. Here's some of the things I'm going to put in that. The first truth I'm going to say is the most critical decision you ever make in this business is who you're going to work with when you first meet them. When I first got in the business, I worked with anybody that I did require their loyalty. However, I worked with some of those people for a long, long time, and I could have made more money working at McDonald's, but I did end up having a happy customer and a relationship there. But the most important part is the person deciding, can I work with this person? Will this person be loyal to me? Can I finish the job? Can I get them into a house? Can I get their house sold? Is this person going to listen to me, or are we going to have a good working relationship? Because sometimes the pleasure is not worth the pain. And it's those painful deals that'll color your world. We as people don't remember all the great things that have happened to us. We focus on the 3 bad things that happened to us this week. And that's where it's so important to have control of your attitude and really control of your mind when it comes to putting your real estate deal together. So when you meet somebody and when you're qualifying them, when you're talking to them about what they want about real estate, you really have to think about it, because this is your time and you don't have unlimited time. It always feels like you do, but you really don't. You don't know what will happen in your family. You don't know what will happen in your circumstances. So you got to make the most out of every single day. Another fun thing that I would do, put in my 10 undeniable truths about real estate, is the lower the price, usually the more challenges. When you're dealing with people, and this is not to say that you shouldn't deal with people that are on special loans and anything like that. You should, if they're committed to the process. But that goes into my next one. But usually, generally speaking, the lower the deal, the lower the money, the more challenges. So you want to deal with people that are able to make it through. That's the reason you go through pre-qualifying. That's the reason 2 or 3 lenders intimately that you can call at 7 o'clock on a Monday night and get somebody qualified right away. So the other really, I think my third undeniable truth about real estate is going to be, as an agent, I believe in enthusiasm. I think enthusiasm can really just make you a better person. It can make you get more enjoyment out of life. But there's a danger in real estate with emotion. And emotion, it can be hurtful. And here's my rule. My undeniable fact is, you, as an agent, can never want a deal more than your principal wants the deal. In other words, you can't want that house for that buyer, even though you know that's the best house they've seen in 6 months or a year, even though you know that's the best house in the market, you can't want it more than them. When you do, you get little dollar signs in your eyeballs, and you become a salesman to them. And you never want to be in a salesman position. You want to be an advisor. You want to be the calm person who says, these are the facts. This is your deal to make it or break it. This is what I see. This is what I've seen in the market. But let me warn you that you don't open your mouth until you've fully heard your client speak what they're thinking. And they're going to have a lot of fears. They're going to have a lot of anxiety. They're going to think the house is priced too high. They're going to have 1,000 things. And you need to get in step with them. You need to have that eye contact with them, and you need to understand where they're at when they're saying those things to you. So I know you've heard the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Well, that's the same way with prospects. You can know that's the best house in the world. So how do you solve this problem? Here's how you solve it. You find thirsty horses. You find prospects that want it. They got to want it. They got to want it. They got to understand it. They have to be thirsty. You cannot be the primary force. You are not that great of a salesman. What your salesmanship should do is to tell you what you need to be doing every single day in order to bolster your career. So let's say what I said. The other things that I wanted to say on my undeniable truths of life is that you never make really great income in this business when you focus on commission. And, I see people move over here because it's 10% more commission over there, and move over here. And you will never make the kind of income that you need to make until you learn how to do and expect from yourself multiple deals. You got to do multiple deals. You can't live on one deal a month. Even if you're making 100% commission, you can't live on one deal a month. You've got to learn how to do multiple deals. So how do you do that? Well, you do that by knowing what your most essential thing is that you need to do every day. And that most essential thing that you need to do is prospect. The second most essential thing you need to do is follow up on the people that you've talked to that maybe were a little bit cold, but timing is everything. Timing is everything. So prospecting and follow-up are the two biggest rocks. I know you've seen this example before where they take a clear jar and they show you, how many things you can get in that jar. And they start out with the big rocks. They put as many big rocks as they can in that jar, and then they'll put smaller rocks and then smaller, and then pretty soon they're just putting pebbles in and the whole jar gets filled. Well, what happens to your day if you don't understand real estate is your day will get filled up every day with the little small things that are in real estate. The small things that are really not important, that are not going to move you forward. They're not going to move your income forward. And what I want for you is the most that you can make out of this real estate opportunity. And believe me, it's been very, very good to me. I was very grateful for real estate. I still am very grateful for real estate. And I want you and your generation to absolutely have the sky, the stars. There's an old saying, I like it a lot. It said, it's better to shoot for the stars and hit the moon than shoot for the moon and hit a low-flying buzzard. So I think most people really aim too low in this business. They really aim too low. And I don't want you to settle for that. I want you to know that this business is dynamic. But there's going to be some days that are not going to be, that you're going to let your emotions get all into you, that you're going to get your feelings hurt. But you can't run your life on the feelings of people. That's one of the things I've got against Facebook and all the other social medias is basically you only see the good snapshots. You don't see the ups and the downs of everybody's day. You always see them when they're looking great. And everybody's like that. I don't have a problem with that. But I'm going to tell you something. Your feelings, if you run your life on your feelings, you will not like the results. So get out there and put everything you got into it. Another thing is understanding the market. You know, I've tracked this market. Actually, if you want something that's very interesting, I've got the number of sales in Wake County, and then I've got another report that shows me the number of sales in the surrounding county for about the last 30 years. So I know the timing of this market. And when you talk to buyers and when you talk to sellers, you should know the timing of the market. So right now is the height of our market. This is, I've always said it. I've always said it would be from about right after tax day, let's say April 20th, until sometime in June. You know, last year, the market actually peaked, as it always does. Only 2 times in the last 30 years has this market peaked in July. And the only reason it would peak in a different month is because of an interest rate change that was dramatic. Okay, so keep that in mind. But when you see the market peak and then you see it kind of slide down towards the rest of the year. So what does that mean? That means if you're selling a home right now's the time to do it. So understanding the market is going to be one of your biggest assets as an agent. The second thing I would say is learn how to ask questions and be really, truly interested in people. You know, when you talk to somebody and one of the first things I always say to them, did you drive past that house or did you see it online? That's an easy question to ask. And then, do you live if I'm talking to an area code, do you live here locally or are you calling me from out of town? And of course your name, and of course that. There's so many questions you should be asking to a person, but then you have to fully listen to their answer so you don't sound like you're interrogating them. I mean, you got to be friendly. You need to have a smile on your face, but you need to learn how to ask a whole lot of questions and get a whole lot of questions into that first contact when you meet with that person or when you call with that person prospecting. So just know those right questions to ask. And the last thing I say is just your time management. You know, there's I've said this in my life, you know, there's agents out there that'll do a deal and then they let that deal rule their life for the next 6 weeks until they close it out. You'll starve to death in this business if you do that. You must learn how to do multiple deals. But if a day goes by that you haven't pushed forward, and how do you push forward? You push forward because your job is basically you're a private investigator. You are to find prospects. You're to find thirsty horses. You're to find people that want to buy, that want to sell. And so if you're not spending that as the biggest chunk of your time, you're going to lose out. And the second biggest chunk of your time is to follow up on people you've already talked to and find out where they are in the game. Because agents do not follow up too much. They follow up too little. And then they call back one day and they say, oh yeah, it's good to talk to you. I bought a house last week. Yeah. Once you've had that conversation 2 or 3 times, that's about all you can take of that. So I hope you've just got a few refresher courses on the things you already know about real estate. If you've got any questions, I've got a few minutes to spend with you. I'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, we've got a lot of questions in the chat this week. First one here, would you say it's easier or harder for a new agent to succeed now?
You know, I'd have to be honest, and I'd have to say that we're in a bigger market, so I'd have to say it's a little harder. But it's a little harder because of the number of agents. See, now I've been through very, very low markets where there was very little activity going on. In this market, what you've got is more competition. So you're going to have to work harder to get in front of your competition. And the thing I want you to remember is, hang on, they're not going to be in the business that long.
And this one kind of ties in with that. What you just answered might be on like kind of a national level, but Here's a question. Was Raleigh a competitive market during your first year in real estate compared to now?
You know, Raleigh has always ranked as a top place to live. I mean, as long as I can remember, for over these 30 years, we've ranked. I don't think that we consistently ranked over the last 2 or 3 years, us and Austin, one of the top 3 places to live. So again, it's that competition thing. But yes, we have always been one of the top markets in this country.
How did you balance prospecting for new clients with managing the administrative and operational aspects of your business during your initial year?
Well, I think I've told this story 1,000 times, but I hired an assistant, and she worked for me while her children were in school. It was a perfect situation. She'd come to work about 9. She'd leave about 2 to go pick up the kids, and she kind of kept my deals from screaming. Before I had that assistant, I promise you, I was the worst agent in town to work with. Now I'm just telling you the fact, because I knew in my heart that closing out that deal was not going. It wasn't my major job. My major job was to find a new deal that day. And I had that so ingrained in my mind that if you were doing a co-op with me, I'm ashamed to say it, but you'd have a hard time getting me to call you back. You'd have a hard time getting me to handle the details of the sale. And that's the reason I hired an assistant, because I knew I had to go find new business.
Did you have a mentor or a coach who provided guidance and support during your first year, and how did that relationship contribute to your achievements?
Number one, thank you so much. Genius. I don't think that's the case. I cannot say that I've had that many mentors in my business. I do recall when I was at Prudential, there was a wonderful agent who was actually a top agent herself. She did a lot of relocation. Her name was Jean Taft. She's long been moved away from here. But Jean Taft looked at me one day and she said, "Marty, you know, you've sold a lot of real estate, but nobody knows who you are." And so by her saying that, I started to do a few little things that got my name out there. But I consider her an early influence on my life as far as that's concerned. The other one's the one I just gave you a few minutes ago. Parker Creech said the most critical decision you ever make is who you're going to work with. Right at the beginning of that is who you're going to devote your time to. Because some people, all clients are not the same. You know, they're just not. All buyers are not the same. So some buyers are going to take you 6 months or 8 months, or they're going to be difficult during the whole thing. Some of them are going to be a lot easier, and they're thirsty. Find those thirsty horses.
Last question. Looking back, is there anything you would have done differently in your first year, and what advice would you give to others based on your experiences?
Well, I think that the difference I would have done is try to save more from my taxes, because I think I've told you many times I was behind on federal taxes, which of course ballooned into all kinds of extra fees for the first 8 years I was in real estate, because I was taking every dime. It was taking every dime I was making, it seemed like, to raise a family. So I would have put more away for income taxes. I would have put it away secretly, so I couldn't have done something maybe. And so I would have done that differently. What else I would have done differently? I think I moved from a traditional company to an untraditional company that was a brand new brand in this town. In 1996, it was called Remax. Of course, it's not a brand new brand now. But I looked at opportunity and I did the math. And I said, this is a better opportunity for me. So I wasn't afraid to make a change. No, I take that back. I was afraid to make the change. But I guess my common sense overrode that, and my need to provide for my family at that point in time overrode that. So I did make a change, and that's hard to do in real estate. So what I would do is I would look at opportunities and I would decide where I was going to make my name, and then I would go deep. And you can do this business. You can do this business if you have that desire to make high income. This is one of the most fantastic opportunities in America. It really is, because it works on your energy and your know-how. I mean, this works totally on you. It's all on you. So you don't have to have come from wealth. You don't have to have everything perfect. You don't have to have great social contacts. I didn't have any of that. So you can make big difference in this business for yourself, for your family, for your team. You can grow big. Guys, thank you so much for dropping by. I'm so glad to be back. I've been out for a little while. It's great to see you. Keep selling some real estate.